Okay, great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. The goals of the webinar today are to really help answer questions and share tips and any useful information on the SAWIT application process and the program itself. Um, I will walk through some general guidelines and kind of common mistakes and common tips that we think might be useful, but also will gladly answer any questions you have about the process. So feel free to ask them at any time. And my name is Christine Jacobs, and I'm on the SAWIT team. And I will probably stumble around with this webinar technology for a few moments. Okay, there we go. Okay, if you're joining, you probably have a sense about what the SAWIT Challenge is all about. It is a partnership between SPKS, IBCSD, and USAID, and is really capturing or trying to build upon some of the momentum around zero deforestation efforts in Indonesia, and specifically looking at how to support independent smallholders to produce palm oil more sustainably. So specifically, again, this is directly from the challenge statement, which is posted online. But across a spectrum of key needs, we're looking at applications that address one or more of the following needs regarding access to inputs and extension services, market information services, access to finance,
Hey,
mapping,
Christine.
data.
Sorry to interrupt. It still says that I'm waiting to view your screen. Did you have a slide deck up?
Oh, yeah, that's weird. I have it up and I wonder why you can't see it. Screen sharing. Playing around with some settings here. Can you see it now?
Yep, perfect.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you haven't missed a lot. um, so we are just going through the challenge statement here. You can now see. Um, I think I was at access to finance and mapping and data that can help illuminate where smallholders are, who they are, and help them get closer to getting a legal land title. Traceability solutions, and transportation and supply chain solutions, sort of supply chain efficiency. So a common question is about, what's the prize? What is this program all about? Because it is not a traditionally structured kind of grant funding program. It's new for many people. So the kind of the culminating event of this program is what we're calling an innovation marketplace. And so we will, through a review process, select up to 10 innovators that have applied. And the marketplace is intended to be a forum where innovators get to really showcase their solutions, but not just showcase for visibility's sake. That is a part of it, but also really get to talk about some of the hurdles and needs that they face in front of a diverse set of leaders in industry, in the NGO and civil society community, in government, and in innovation sectors that will be there to really think with you about how to tackle the barriers that the innovators face. Some of those barriers are financial, but not all of them. So it's about making building relationships and building towards opportunities for deals or partnerships, and beneficial collaborations. So I see we had one more person join. Hello, Anthony. I can't hear you, but
Hey, can you hear me
there we go. Oh, you were
now?
on
Okay,
the
sorry.
phone earlier. Yeah, great. I
Yeah.
didn't see, I thought it showed when someone dialed in on the phone, but I guess it's not that high tech.
Ah, sorry about that.
No problem. Where are you joining us from?
Arlington.
Arlington. Wow. That's near where you are, right, Tyler?
It is about an hour north of Fredericksburg.
All right. Um, Great. So I'll just carry on. I'm not sure how long you were on the phone there, Anthony, but feel free to interrupt me and jump in and ask any questions. I'm going to just kind of talk through the slide deck that we have, but it's also really intended to answer your questions. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll keep going. All good. Yeah. So feel free to speak up or send a chat message. Either works. So just talking about the marketplace and what happens there. So, the first two bullets here about the relationship building and partnership building is really the purpose of the marketplace. Additionally, there is coaching that happens in advance, both virtually in the weeks prior as well as in person, in the days beforehand, to really help craft the pitch, and think through what the asks are. Additionally, there is a video recorded, a professional video, which can be used for other purposes, and of course, the trip to Indonesia where this will take place. Are there any questions about the marketplace?
Yeah, I have a quick one. How will you guys be understanding who is like the best people to bring to the marketplace that will be being pitched to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have there's a few factors that play into that. One is kind of building from a general methodology that we use in terms of stakeholder mapping and composing a balanced and diverse council. We call these attendees our council. And so really we're starting from a core of some of the key systems actors that are relevant across the challenge. So some of the palm oil companies themselves, some NGOs that work directly in palm oil, and buyers as well. Hopefully some key government ministries, and as we learn more about what the portfolio of innovations will be and will entail, and really learn more about what the barriers that the portfolio of innovations face, we will continue to build a customized council based on that knowledge. So in our interviews, we will really want to be knowing, well, I will clarify the review process so a panel of reviewers will score the applications, and the top 20 applicants will go through an interview process. And through that process, we'll really better learn what hurdles needs and kind of goals that the innovators have, and give them a chance to say who they really need and want at the table, and we'll do our best to get those people there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much.
And I'll also share that I'm not ignoring Lena, who's joined. She's my colleague who's just on for, I guess, moral support and to put any plant questions out there. So thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone.
We have Anthony and Tyler both in Virginia. Okay, so about the actual proposal. So just kind of, this may be obvious, but in case it's not, so we're really looking for proposals that show a benefit to smallholders, either directly or indirectly, that showcase a new approach. So basically clarifying that, it's doesn't have to be new as in a technology that's never been heard of, but not a redundant approach or technology or process. Proposals that can be applied in Indonesia. So we're certainly looking for international solutions from that have been trialed in other countries or are successfully working in other countries, or are already working in Indonesia, but that at least have the potential to expand to Indonesia, and take that context in mind. We are looking for proposals in English. So for the two of you, that should not be a problem. And have been tested in the field. So at least have some real data and insight that this solution can work. About the application specifically, so some of this is kind of a more detailed example of what I just talked about. So we've chosen we've invented a solar cool storage container. I'm not even sure that's the right language, but we're going with it. A solar cool storage container as a illustrative example here. And these are really just to show, compare a good kind of statement or a good answer with a not as good answer. So, the point about showing smallholder relevance, I guess you can see the slide in front of you, so I'm not going to read it word by word. But here we're talking about kind of getting specific with how it helps smallholder farmers, not just that it does. So somewhat similarly, offering specific examples, so or specific data. So, especially if there is data from the field that can help showcase how your solution has worked, or studies that indicate how it will affect smallholder farmers. We're looking for as much kind of robust detail as possible. Okay. So probably goes without saying that being concise is great. The reviewers, have a lot to read, and as the more concise you can make it, the easier their job will be. And similarly, some questions, each question is different, but, have similar, sometimes may elicit a similar response, or at least maybe in your case, feel like they are redundant. So if that's the case, you can just state that, part of this question has already been answered instead of repeating an answer. So also being really clear about the value proposition and what makes it unique. So that kind of gets a little bit to, the other competitors that are out there. So don't shy away from mentioning other solutions that exist that might be similar to yours. But do try to show why yours is different, how yours works better or works differently. So I guess I will read through some of the examples here. So in this example, kind of the unclear value proposition is just that our cool storage container reduces post-harvest loss. In this case, that's the point of this cool storage container. But there may be many cool storage containers, and so getting more specific about why yours is different. So unlike other cool and cold storage products on the market, our product runs in off-grid settings on solar and battery power and maintains an optimal temperature of 10 degrees Celsius that keeps palm fruit from spoiling before processing to minimize post-harvest loss. So that's a long one. But I think you get the point of just really clarifying differentiating factors. And welcome, Joanne. Joanne, if you missed the beginning part, this will be posted online as well. And I can send you the slide deck, and you'll also have an opportunity to ask questions now or after the presentation. So
great, thank you.
Okay, this one's an important one. They're all important, but I think this one is maybe more subtle and also common, is being honest about weaknesses that your organization or your solution faces. So instead of having the people who will be reviewing your application, try to guess or poke holes, really being forthright with your deficiencies. Every organization has deficiencies, and the point of this program is to at least help address some of those deficiencies where possible. So do state needs and or weaknesses. Of course, it's helpful if you state them in a way that shows what the intended kind of strategy to address those needs or weaknesses are, as well as how can this program help address those. So we know that, this program is not going to be your end all be all and can't provide all the solutions that you might need, but helping us see where we can add value to you will also really help in the selection process. So I guess looking at the example, simply stating how wonderful and strong your team or solution is, actually, we know that that's not the whole story. So, of course, emphasizing the positives, but also being candid about, what are the areas that you're working on still. Okay, so those of you that have joined us don't probably need translation help, but for those who are maybe viewing this after the fact, these are probably translation services that you already know about, but we do have applicants from all over the world with different languages, and unfortunately, we are really only accepting applications in English. So if that is an obstacle, of course, using Google Translate, other services like freetranslation.com, of course, paid translation services can be an option. And also, we do recognize when language is a barrier in applications as opposed to the quality of the content. So we will do our best to be generous about understanding translation difficulties from international applicants. But that said, the marketplace will be primarily hosted in English. So it is a requirement that English skills be strong enough to participate in the marketplace in a meaningful way. About other help, so of course, we're here now to answer questions. What we can share is kind of give general feedback about if your solution seems like a fit with the challenge in general. Of course, if you're experiencing technical difficulties in applying, we will certainly do our best to triage any online technical difficulties. And questions about the program, the process, why we're doing things, how we're doing things, all of that is fair game. And where we can point you to additional resources, we will. We can't answer specific application questions or kind of give you feedback on specific application questions or translate things for you or kind of give midpoint thumbs up or thumbs down on your application. And at any time in the process, so we do have one more week. The challenge closes on August 16th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And you can ask questions at sawitchallenge@gmail.com, and we will get back to you. You can also, just one sort of technical note, you can reopen or edit your application, even if it has already been submitted before the deadline or up until the deadline. So if you have already submitted and you realize that there's areas that you could improve or you've gained new information that you want to include, you are free to do that. Okay. Any questions from Anthony, Tyler, or Joanne?
I don't have any right now. I'll be sure to send some in if I do have some in the future.
Okay, great. Lena, any plant questions that help get at something I didn't cover?
Haha. Let's see. So here are some questions that came up on the webinar that we did in Bahasa, Indonesia. One of them was how we can reference past work if it's no longer available online. And as you may have noticed in the application, there are fields where you can just enter a web URL, but alternatively, you can just upload a document, and we will take that into consideration in your application. Let me see what other questions came up. So one question was, I didn't complete some sections, like about funding, because our budget hadn't yet been determined. And our response is to say that we prefer, if you don't have an answer to a question, you can leave it blank. It's better not to create or hypothesize something like that, because that's quite important. So just leave it blank, or just give a status on where you are at with a particular question. And another question was, if your idea is still in the prototype stage, can you still submit it? And the answer is yes, absolutely. We welcome all your applications, even if you're still prototyping.
And I think one other question that came up had to do with past work or partnering with any of the SAWIT Challenge partners previously, and whether that precluded someone from applying, and certainly not. So some of our applicants have worked with USAID in the past, and that's quite all right. Similarly, actually, the one common thing that has come up is any formal partners, any formal partnership with the SAWIT partners in the proposal. So, for example, applying with SBKS as, basically a co-proposer is not, won't work for this challenge. So kind of reducing the conflicts of interest. So we can't have our partners also be, partnering in the application.
And on the technical side, is there a preference for who primes? Is it that the US organization should prime, or is there a preference to have the local organizations be the prime?
Good question. Lena, what do you think?
I would say that we're not going to give any preferential treatment either way. I think what's the important thing is that you clarify how your innovation is really going to impact Indonesian smallholders, right? Because those are the main beneficiaries for this challenge. So as long as that is one of the end results, I don't think that it is important for you to clarify that. But when you there is one of the scoring criteria is regarding management, and so we would like to see how is your company or your innovation, your project, how is it organized? So when it comes to that, just be clear about if you are working with a U.S. and a local partner, how are they working together?
And
Does that make sense?
actually, also to just expand on that a little bit, it's okay that this is not, like I said, a traditional grant funding proposal. So not everything that you include, we're not going to, ensure that it's set in stone and hold you to it. So at the marketplace, if you're finding and we are able to set up dialogues with other prospective funders, that's actually where that answer might come out even more clearly, since this isn't a direct funding grant challenge.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for that. And kind of dovetailing off that question, you said the preference is obviously for the outcome to be for smallhold farmers in Indonesia. Is there any preference for the type of smallholder farmer that we're looking at? There's the potential that our innovation might be working with cooperatives or people that are in outgrower schemes. Would that be regarded as a higher benefit, or is it a higher benefit to be working with independent smallhold farmers?
Good question. So definitely independent smallholder farmers. However, there are, I think there are quite a few definitions floating out there. And so by independent, we mean not part of a plasma scheme. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're not part of cooperatives or some other, way of organizing themselves, but the formal plasma schemes with the palm oil companies, those would be not independent smallholder farmers. So we're really explicitly focused on independent smallholders.
Great, that makes sense. Maybe since I don't want to dominate this conversation or anything like that, but maybe it'd be fine for me to kind of throw out my idea and make sense see if it resonates with you guys or not. But we are basically we have some partnerships already on the ground. I'm from Damagi. I don't know if you're aware of us.